Good Thursday morning to you, everybody. I'm Jake Rowe. She is Kimberly Lee. This is the Field Notes podcast. So stoked about today's show. There's less of me and Kimberly today because we've got a special message from Farm Bureau to share with you today. And as always, we are presented to you by Georgia Farm Bureau. And we're so proud to have them as our presenting sponsor. You've got to have insurance. So why not work with a company that supports Georgia farms? Georgia Farm Bureau Insurance is the only company dedicated to promoting Georgia farmland and preserving Georgia's agriculture industry, which helps keep Georgia clothed and fed. Georgia Farm Bureau Insurance offers a wide variety of insurance coverage options, the most popular being auto, home, and life insurance. They have dedicated agents who live and work in communities all across the state where they provide exceptional service, and their friends and neighbors are giving advice and helping them customize their coverage to save money both in the short term and long term. I can say this, I've been a Farm Bureau customer for 26 years. You're probably going to hear me say that a lot while we're working with Farm Bureau, and I love it. I've been a client of Farm Bureau, a member for that long for a reason, and I encourage you to go check it out. They have agents all over the state. It's very hands-on. It's incredible, and I have a ton of respect for them, and we certainly appreciate their support here on the Field Notes podcast. And today, Kimberly, we've got that special message coming from Georgia Farm Bureau. We've also got an interview with Mike Lowe at the Spring Creek Co-op, a Southeast Georgia co-op. Had some technical gremlins, all right, during that interview, but we worked through it. You were an absolute champ working through that interview. But let me tell you something. It's how things are supposed to be in this world, in this state, and they've done an incredible job there. Really love that interview. And then we've got something to talk about, your adventures of last week. But before we get into those adventures, how are you doing? I know you're kind of like me and you're trying to kind of fight it right now a little bit.
Yeah. Just through post holidays and then jumping straight into travel, you get exposed to a lot. So just trying to overcome a couple of things, but we just wrapped up deer season here in Georgia with the exception of the extended archery areas. And we're now not in a marathon to the new spring event, the South Georgia Spring Sportsman Expo. We are now in a full-on sprint, just a short 49 days away, and the days keep moving faster and faster. So I didn't really answer how I am. I just let you know all the things I have going on.
That's right.
For you.
Yeah, I'm all right. Just taking it one day at a time. Right now it's cold around here. It is absolutely freezing and it's trying to rain. And it's just one of my least favorite things about the Georgia winter. There's probably a big buck out there to be killed right now. No doubt. But Kimberly, you went to the ATA trade show. What is it? I had this a second ago. ATA is the Archery Trade Association. Mm-hmm. Yes. Archery Trade Association. For some reason, when I see an A in any acronym in this country, I think America. Like I wanted to call it the American Trade Art. And I was like, no, that's not right. So I just get thrown by that just about every single time.
I love it. Just America proud. I appreciate that. But yeah, I had a great trip. It was my first time going to the ATA show there in Indianapolis. Never been to Indianapolis before. I'm a country thoroughbred through and through, and I finally went to a city that I was like, this place is pretty cool. It was clean. It was cool. It was old, felt very like historical. But ATA was really cool. I was there on Wednesday and Thursday, and it was all business to business, B2B. You had all the manufacturers, all the big brands. They were there representing everything you could think of related to archery, but then also complementary products, things like cameras, feeders, saddles, those types of things. But very super specific on the archery product side of things. Everything to go with the bow was there.
Yeah. And something we talked about when you came back was this whole idea that what I love about bow hunters. And what I love about people in archery, they don't eat around the edges. They do not eat around the edges. They are all in, folks. I mean, I would be willing to bet that a very large portion of it, I'm not even going to guess at a percentage, but a large portion of your archery hunters don't hunt with the exact same setup 2 years in a row very often. Some of them, probably a much smaller portion, don't hunt the first and second half of season with the exact same setup. They're always tweaking. They're always moving stuff around. They're always trying something new. T-Bone Turner, who was on our last episode of the podcast, he talked about kind of how I felt like he kind of led us behind the ropes a little bit about kind of how archers, and bow hunters do their thing is, they're into kind of the minute details, trying to find a little way to get better, trying to find a little bit more way to get a little bit more comfortable. Did you pick up on any of that while you were there?
Oh yeah, for sure. Just from the fact that they, it's a little bit of like a engineer mindset, if you will, constantly thinking, this component will help, help me be a better shot. This component will help me better if I'm bow hunting in a saddle. This component will help me better if I'm on the ground. This is faster. This is quieter. This is, all the different aspects from the broadhead to, the peephole, to the whisker biscuit, all the things, to the strings, to the arms, the limbs, all of it. For sure. I think they're always trying to figure out, what can make me better? What can, not even really what can make this easier or smoother, but what can make me better, because they're definitely the type of hunter that's up for the challenge for sure. They just want to be better at it. And, I think all of these manufacturers that were there were chasing that exact same thing. What is going to make this a better experience for the bow hunter, for the archer?
Totally. And I wanted to ask you, just from your experience being there, what was kind of was it heavy on the bow hunting side, or was it heavy on the competitive archery side? Was there a little bit of both? What did you see?
It's a little bit of both, but I would just say based on who I targeted, and it could totally be because I had a strategy, right? There was a reason I was there. It did seem to be a little heavier on the bow hunting side of things. Now, with that being said, that could totally just be my perspective because I was there chasing things related to bow hunting, right? But it did feel heavier on the hunting side of things. For instance, I spent some time with our good friends over at Pistol Creek Outdoors, our friends over at Hunter Safety Systems, picked up a couple of vendors for our event like Wicked Feeder Solutions, saw my friends at Domain Outdoors. So, and Obsession, which we know is a big time partner with us. And so it felt heavier on the hunting to me for sure.
Gotcha. And you mentioned going to a new city, going to Indianapolis. You kind of touched on that in the beginning, but what were your thoughts on it? I've been there 3 times, all 3 for football related things. I've been to the NFL Combine, National Championship game. I went there several years back when Georgia played Notre Dame. You kind of got to pick your poison there. There's not really any way to get to South Bend, Indiana. But what was it that you liked about Indianapolis? I know that one of my favorite things is the fact that you can go anywhere you want to basically downtown without ever having to go outside.
Yeah, I think that was definitely going to be one of the things I shared. My Uber driver from the airport, when I flew in, it was cold that first day. To them, it was warm, but it was relatively cool that first day. And he was kind of telling me, if the weather's bad, the good thing about downtown Indianapolis is exactly what you said. Basically, you can go anywhere you want without having to step foot outdoors. So if the weather's inclement, you can still get from point A to point B, C, D without having to step out in the inclement weather. But with that aside, I'm a big history nut. So everything just it was clean, very clean, but felt old. And I loved that. It wasn't your typical skyscraper modern type buildings. It was more like museum type looking buildings with older looking architecture. And I like the old but clean feel it had to it.
Yeah, there's definitely that in Indianapolis. I can certainly kind of corroborate that for you. I was in Minneapolis this summer, and they've kind of got a similar setup. They've got what's called, I believe in Indianapolis, it's a lot of tunnels, but in Indianapolis, it's a lot of tunnels. In Minneapolis, there's a lot of it's called a skywalk, where you basically can just go from building to building, and obviously that's very much needed up there because it gets really cold. The last time I was in Indianapolis, or the time before that, I would say. When I was there when Georgia played in the national championship game, Kimberly, I was terrified because with the wind chill going, I looked at the weather report. The wind chill the day I arrived was going to be 4 degrees. And listen, your boy don't get that cold very often. Like, I just don't get into those temperatures. So I was out trying to find jackets and long johns and everything else. The only long johns I could find were camo long johns. So I wore camo thermals everywhere, which was kind of cool. But yeah, it's a cool city. And I'll say this about you, and you didn't know this was coming. So, don't get weird on me here.
Jake, I was born weird.
I am so stoked that you are, in a lot of ways, just in terms of the getting out and about, the face of and the tip of the spear for GON, because you represent GON so well. And I know that people that meet you are going to kind of be like, man, this place is awesome. Like, this place is cool because you're out there doing it. You're such a people person. You're such a good conversationalist. I just wanted to kind of, toot your horn a little bit because you are so fun. And I'm glad that you get to be the one to kind of go out and do those things, because I'm sure more folks from GON are probably going to be at ATA next year just because of the opportunity and the experience you had there.
Well, thank you, Jake. That's incredibly kind. I had to put together some content for the February issue coming up about the South Georgia Spring Sportsman Expo. And I was like, everything we've used up to date has been kind of just newsy and informative, but I want to put a personal feel on why it was important for me for GON to launch the event. And it really speaks to what you're talking about. It's been super incredible for me as an individual who grew up on GON, getting to go to all these places and represent GON. And it's just been, even though traveling makes you tired and being on the go, January to July is exhausting for me. But at the same time, the relationships I get to develop, being the face of GON, I don't like saying that, but essentially that is what is happening when I'm going to these places. It's restorative to my soul, right? I get to meet so many cool people. I get to tell them my personal connection to GON, what GON stands for. It's fun. Number one, it is work and it wears you out, but it's fun. And then it's restorative to just get to hear the impact that GON gets to have on the lives of people, not just within our state, but people who come from afar that we get to meet and build connections. I mean, we've got vendors that are from, states and states away who, when they see, they're like, GON. And that's just super cool to hear and know that something that, is a staple and how we grew up is making a difference in lives of businesses across the country. So it's been restorative for me to get to share GON and who we are.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up too. Earlier this week, we we had a chance to sign off a couple of GON originals, a couple of guys that have been around forever. Daryl Kirby, our chief editor, and Mike Rhodes, who, Mike was in charge of sales for a long time. Those guys, let me tell you something. If you have enjoyed GON over the past 3 decades, those guys have touched just about every single thing you've enjoyed about it. They have touched every single thing that you've enjoyed about it. And they are first-class people. And I know that they mean a lot to you. You knew them longer than I did. Not that they're gone. I'm looking forward to continuing to text and talk and get to know them better. So it's not like they've left us or anything, but they're no longer with GON. They're retired. And I wouldn't say retired. They've retired from GON. And we had a retirement dinner for them for them to kind of end their time at GON. And Kimberly, I don't know. It was, both of them gave me a hug. at the end of that retirement dinner, because I had to leave a little bit early to go pick my wife and kids up, and almost cried. They're just wonderful folks, and I'm really happy for them, and so excited to have had an opportunity to learn from them.
Absolutely. I did cry, but I reined it back. I didn't sob like I expected to. I just waited till I got home, and I cried really hard on Mitchell. And I was like, it was Mike and Daryl's last day, and he was like, you've already told me it was their last day like 3 times before. I was like, yeah, but today was the real last day. And I was like, but just so you know, we're going to roll up on Mike Rhodes at a campground somewhere, and we're just going to spend the weekend with him. Like, I can't tell him bye forever. And I was like, Daryl's done messed up and told me where he lives, so I'm going to be there.
And he's going to grin like the Cheshire Cat when we do. Like he's got $1 million smile, and it'll be wide. It'll be as wide as you can imagine. Yeah.
You gotta lean down and look up. I want to go during grass cutting season so I can see how dark his knees get, how tan his tractor knees get when he's not at GON. The man has the tannest knees ever. That's something that will stick with us forever. And then I gotta go.
Well, they're always visible because the man doesn't wear pants. So
no, Daryl.
Oh, Daryl. I'm sorry. I thought you're still talking about Mike.
Yeah. No, I want to, with Mike, I got to go sit around a campfire and eat like some Vienna sausages.
Yeah. Cook some bacon on a stick. Enjoy
bacon on a stick.
Yeah. Have you ever done that camping?
We have forgotten spatulas before and had to flip our food with sticks.
Yeah. We used to
flipping it with a stick.
When I've been camping before, we didn't have obviously it's usually when you forget the stuff you need. A few times we've forgotten the stuff we needed, and we just wrapped bacon around the end of a stick and just cooked it over the fire. Comes out a little bacon pinwheel, all weird, and turns out to be pretty good.
Redneck ingenuity.
But you've got to be careful, that when it starts to render and that fat drips on the fire, jump up and kiss the bacon, burn it a little bit. So you got to be ready for that. But it's a lot of fun, and I just, man, I'm so happy for those guys. I hope they enjoy some rest and relaxation, and then I hope they get to do exactly what they want to do until they're ready to retire, and put it all down for good. Man, those are two of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. I'm a better person just having met them and being around them. And I don't know if either one of them are going to take the time to listen to this podcast. I'm sure they're going to be hunting and fishing and enjoying their lives. But if they do, I want them to know we love them. And they were a big part of why we started this podcast. They gave us a lot of feedback on it, a lot of help kind of getting it going. And I don't know, man, GON wouldn't be what it is without those two. That's for sure.
Good gracious. No, not at all. And, I think even the short amount of time I got to have with them, I don't know that I would be who I am without them either.
I can say that too. And I haven't even known them for a full year yet. So I also enjoyed what the magazine they put together and the website they put together for a long time, and the forums and things like that before I ever got to know who they were, even know their names really. I just, I got to know them, really, not getting to know them, but I felt like I'd been impacted by them even before I got to know them, I would say.
That's right.
And that's right. A big part of it. So, Kimberly, we've got 2 interviews today. We normally don't have 2, but we wanted to check in with our friends over at Farm Bureau. Jeffrey Harvey, I believe he is the Chief Administrative Officer. He's a South Georgia boy down from Abbeville. We talked to him. He's going to talk about some dove hunting and hog hunting and growing up in South Georgia. I tell you, I kind of identified with him pretty good. He graduated a couple of years ahead of me from Wilcox County. I knew Wilcox County real well. We talked for about 10 minutes after we got off the air about kind of competing against each other's high schools and while we were in high school. But he's an awesome dude, and he shares kind of Farm Bureau's vision and what they're all about. And then we're going to chat with Mike Lowe at Spring Creek Co-op, and he's going to tell us about, I want to let him tell the story of how they put this thing together back in 2009 and what it did for them in their area down there in Southwest Georgia, down there in Early County. Let's get to those interviews. We'll be back on the other side. Joining us here on the Field Notes podcast, Chief Administrative Officer for Georgia Farm Bureau, Jeffrey Harvey. Farm Bureau, as you know, is the presenting sponsor of the Field Notes podcast. And first and foremost, Jeffrey, thanks so much for you guys partnering with us. We so much appreciate it, and I hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jake. It's an honor to be here, and happy to be joining you and talking about the similarities between farmers and outdoorsmen. Absolutely.
So let's jump right into that, right? Like when you talk about, Georgia Farm Bureau, you and I were talking before the interview, and I don't know that everybody really understands. I've been a Farm Bureau customer for 26 years, and I don't think folks understand all that entails, and especially what Farm Bureau does for the farmers and agriculture in the state of Georgia. But also, there's a connection with the hunters and in ways that maybe folks don't realize. Can you kind of explain that for us?
Yes, be happy to, Jake. First, thank you for your business and your support and your trust. But yes, a lot of folks know us just as an insurance company, and that's great. That speaks volumes to our marketing and how we've been able to get our products out there to the public. And just our largest member benefit that we're most proud of is our insurance products that we provide. But the start of Farm Bureau, 1937, is when we were officially founded, was to be a voice for Georgia's farmers. And in a time, if you think back into the Great Depression and just that era of time, farmers needed a consolidated voice or an organization that they could put their trust in to speak on their behalf and to represent them. And at our very core, that is what we do day in and day out, is to be a voice for the agriculture industry, most notably the farmer, the guy out there putting the seed in the ground and raising the livestock, the guy or girl that's out there doing that. And that's the basis of what we do. That's where I spent most of my career working, was on the ag side of the organization. Now, in 1959, we did start the insurance company, and it's grown to be a $750 million company as far as premium under our protection. But thinking back to those times, farmers needed insurance products that were not available. They needed to buy expensive equipment, and their bankers or their lenders were requiring insurance. So the company kind of came out of that need for farmers, and that's since 1959 we've grown the property and casualty side of the business. We offer banking products, life insurance, but at our the basis of what we do is represent the farmers. We have a voice, presence at the state capitol in Atlanta. We'll be starting next Monday, first day of the legislative session, and we work in partnership with American Farm Bureau to have that presence in Washington, D.C. as well.
Now, connecting it to kind of our audience and the hunters out there, can you help us understand why Farm Bureau loves hunters the way it does? Because I know you do.
Yes. There's so many similarities in what we do. Just our love of conservation and protecting the land. We call ourselves the original conservationists, because if we don't take care of the land, it won't take care of us. Private property rights are just other things that hunters and farmers have similarities in. Access to our natural resources, our water, our dislike, I guess, for wild hogs, which is something that's a constant struggle for us, as I know it is for you guys as well. But my unscientific poll is that probably 95% of our farmers are hunters and fishermen and love the outdoors. And just I've got a feeling our audience is very similar in nature.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, you told me, and you and I have the same problem. We love the outdoors. We love to hunt. We love to fish. I'm more of a fisherman than I am a hunter, but I have really lost touch with my hunting side as I've gotten older, and there's just not as much time, kids and family and sports and work and everything else. Tell me about yourself as an outdoorsman.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same period of my life, but my son's 12 and he loves to fish. He got one of those little calendars counting down the days to Christmas, and then every day was a new fishing lure. So he absolutely, he loves fishing and hunting. But I grew up, my love is dove hunting. I grew up a farm kid, grew up about 30 minutes east of Cordele in a little small town called Abbeville. And, you know, I just remember the days in the late 80s when we started planting sunflowers for the first time down on our farm, and so many others. It started to take off, like just the dove shoots we would have on the weekends. It's just great childhood memories and something that I miss. I wish my son had more access to that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's, you know, you rarely get invited to a dove shoot. But back then, every weekend we were at somebody else's place and just, you know, sitting under the shade tree, listening to Munson and Georgia games before the doves started coming. I mean, it's just, I love it. I miss those days. And, I wish we could get some of those back.
I don't know if you remember when you could kind of go out and dove hunt yourself when you got a chance to first start doing it with your buddies, but I remember dove hunting was tough on my wallet because I'd go out there and just blow out about 5 boxes of shells, and there we were. You know, it was a lot more expensive than I remembered it being when Dad used to take me hunting. You know.
Yes, and it's very similar now. I took my son dove hunting for the first or second time. He went with me when he was young with a BB gun, but now he was sitting in the blind with me and shooting his own little 20 gauge, killed his first 2 doves this year. And, you know, you go to a shoot and you may be on the corner of the field and not getting a lot of opportunities. You will burn a little more powder than normal just because you want to shoot the gun, you know. Right. So we do that quite regularly. So.
Yeah, dove hunting without the booms isn't a whole lot of fun, you know. So you may have to, hey, he's out there. Maybe I got a shot. Nah, I didn't. No chance.
No, it's 100 yards away. There's no way you're hitting it, but we're going to throw some shot out there anyway. So
that's right. That's right. So being from Abbeville, you're Wilcox County High School graduate?
I am. Class of 96.
There you go. There you go. You know, there's I now understand why you mentioned hogs just a minute ago. Obviously, there's plenty of them down there in Abbeville, no doubt about it. I believe that's where is it the hog hunting capital of the country?
Well, that's what we pride ourselves on, being the wild hog capital of the world. And speaking of the legislative session, and I know how active you guys are engaged in your advocacy efforts at the Capitol as well as Farm Bureau, but the kickoff to the legislative session for so many decades has been the Wild Hog Supper on that Sunday night before the legislative session. And that kind of originated down in my hometown, down at on the Okmulgee River. With the leadership at the time was down there hog hunting, and that's where it kind of got its start. So
that's cool. That's cool. I hope to be down there, and I believe it's later this month. When they have that, you know, festival. Our friends over at Boars and Broads was invited us down to come down to that, and I hope to be at the weigh-in for that tournament they've got going on down there and experience some of that. Last question I wanted to ask you, and you know, this just 2 South Georgia boys talking right here because I'm from South Georgia too. I'm from down in Atkinson County, and what makes the Georgia outdoors so special? Because you love it and you grew up in it, so clearly there was something charming and endearing about the Georgia outdoors. What made it special for you?
I think it would just be family more than anything, and you know, slowing down from work or from school or whatever was going on at the time. And you know, I mentioned sitting under the shade tree, listening to my dad and my uncles tell lies, and you know, listening to the Georgia game, and just, you know, the hunting and the fishing was always, we just loved it. But more than anything, it was the family and the environment, and just, you know, slowing down and taking time to spend time with each other. And in today's time, you mentioned you've got baseball practice, you've got, you know, 100 different things going on that takes you away from that. But, you know, that to me was always bonding time with family and my dad, and just, I don't know, that's kind of what it means to me, and why it's always been special.
That's means a lot to us too, man. Absolutely means a lot to us. Jeffrey, it was great talking with you, man. I appreciate you. We appreciate Farm Bureau, and good luck going forward with everything you guys have going on.
Yes, sir, Jake. Thank you very much, and appreciate this opportunity.
You got it, man. Next up here on the Field Notes podcast is our friend Mike Lowe from Spring Creek Co-op down in South Georgia. Born in Early County is Spring Creek Co-op. And Mike, first of all, man, I'm excited to talk to you about what we're going to talk to you about, because I feel like it's needed and it's unique, but really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Hey, glad to do it.
So tell us a little bit about kind of the origin story of Spring Creek Co-op. I'll pull it up right here in just a second, but born in 2009. Tell us how it started. Tell us how you guys came up with this idea.
Well, Jake, we were hunting in Lee County and Mitchell County. We were having a lot of success, but we had a farm in Early County for 6 or 7 years. And every time we hunted, we never saw anything more than a 115, 20-inch 8-pointer. We went into our local deer processor's house one day. This is about 6 or 7 years after we bought the place. And he had 3 or 4 155, 160-inch deer on the wall. And we're like, where the heck did you kill those? And he said, right next to where y'all are hunting, about 15 years ago. So it was like, okay. So we knew that the area supported big deer. The genetics were there. The plenty of food in Southwest Georgia with peanuts and the corn, and Spring Creek provided great habitat. And so we decided to, let's get our neighbors together and see if we can come up with sort of a strategic plan to grow big deer, trophy deer. And you can put plenty of meat in the freezer and grow trophy bucks at the same time. And we had to convince our neighbors that we were serious. And so we basically said, look, this is what we're trying to do. We're going to show you the deer that we are going to pass up this year. And if you don't pass them, we're not going to come blast you. But after a year or two, they started passing up some of the same deer. And after 3 or 4 years, everybody in the co-op, which at that time was rather small, had killed the biggest deer they ever killed. And they were seeing more big deer than they've ever seen. So it was a process where you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. You don't come at them and demand that this is what you got to do. You got to ease into it. It takes a while. And so it was a little bit of a process, but we've gone from that to literally an example. Back then, if you saw 10 bucks, 5 of them be 6-pointers, 4 of them be an 8-pointer, and you might see a random 10-pointer. Now out of 10 bucks, 5 of them are 10-pointers, 3 of them are 8-pointers, and maybe 2 or 6-pointers. Because we try to call, when I say call, you got to be very careful how you use that word, because everybody defines it differently. But and we are very, very serious about managing the doe herd for a couple reasons. It's good for the herd. It's good for the freezer. In our neck of the woods, we try to do what's helpful for the farmers. And the deer and the pigs really are damaging to the peanuts, corn. And so we're very, very determined to accomplish all those goals, but definitely working with the farmers, let them know we're trying to help them with our strategy. The last thing you want is, your program, the farmers perceive as being somehow counterproductive to their production. And, but yeah, it's every year it's gotten better. The co-op has expanded. We've got people that are looking for property specifically in our area because of the deer hunting. And, but anyway, that's kind of a 15-year synopsis, but it's been more than successful.
That's awesome, Mike. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. when I was reading your article from 2011, and you kind of talked about the obstacle of getting hunters involved, of the thought process of, well, if I don't shoot them, my neighbor will. Well, I live in a rural community with not a heavy mature buck population. And, that's kind of the thought process from the average hunters around us too. So I would just like to know what kind of was like the biggest incentive to get hunters to abandon kind of that thought process and buy into what y'all were doing there.
That's a great question. And I think if you look at it, it's just as you evolve, and each year, especially the first 4 or 5 years, these same hunters that might have been opposed are now seeing the biggest bucks they've ever seen. They're having an opportunity to kill the biggest bucks they've ever seen. And so they buy into it because of that. It is challenging the makeup of the properties. Those who own the land buy into it more quickly than those who lease the land.
Yeah.
And so that becomes a little bit of a challenge, but still, we get together every year. We want people to see each other's face. We want people to talk with each other, because when you start, and we kind of look at it rather than a co-op, we kind of look at it as a country club, Spring Creek Country Club, because we all know each other. We've gotten to the point now where if there's a shot fired, we know where it came from. We can get on the cell phone and text. All right, what'd you see? What'd you shoot? And we're to the point, we're so transparent. Even if somebody made a mistake, and this is something from the get-go you have to understand, people will make mistakes. It's okay. If the goal and the intention is correct, that's fine. Mistakes will be made. But we literally are so transparent and we communicate so well. Within 30 minutes, everybody that's hunting that day knows who shot, what they shot, and even to the point where, hey, I just saw one on our hit list, because we're to the point now where we're happy if our neighbor shoots one of our hit list bucks, because it's a co-op kill. It's not an individual kill. And that's the mindset that we really have. And we also are at a point now where there's so much opportunity to put meat in the freezer without shooting a 4-year-old 10-pointer, that if we go, or I go, or anybody goes a year without a wall hanger, we're okay with that. Because you got that many hunters, you can't have that many wall hangers. But if you're happy for your neighbor to kill one, and you're okay if you don't shoot one that year, that's a pretty powerful mindset that allows for really good trophy management.
Looking at this, one of the things that you wrote back in 2011, and if you're listening to this, go look up that article. The name of the article is A Community Solution for If I Don't Shoot It, My Neighbor Will. I enjoyed reading it because, there's a lot that you don't think about that end up being the benefits of this thing. And we'll get to that in a minute, but you had 15,000 acres at the time. You guys were looking to add a few more thousand. I imagine you probably had some come and go during that time, but where are you guys at now with total acreage that gets covered with the co-op?
Jake, what we've got is kind of a core area.
Okay.
I would say maybe 15,000 acres, but then you've got a lot of landowners, property owners, and hunters. It could be 20 or 25,000 acres that they are not part of the core group, but they have land next to us because of what we're doing, and they try to do the same thing. It's hard to quantify the exact number of acres because as you kind of expand, the outer circle becomes, fairly large, but clearly it's become a magnet for like-minded hunters and, quite frankly, property owners. And, our part of the woods used to be dictated by money out of Atlanta, Birmingham. It now is dictated more money out of the Gulf Coast, down around 38, Panama City, Destin. A lot of money, property owners looking to own property. And for the same reason we do. They're looking for not just a place to hunt and fish, but just to get away and enjoy the woods. And so, but anyway, it's hard to put a number on it. But there's a core 15,000, and then you could add another 5 or 10,000. That's I would say pretty like-minded hunters as well.
But real quick on that to follow up. So what you're saying is there's a lot of other properties that just don't necessarily butt up to, it's not adjacent to that 15,000 acres, but they're just kind of spread around in different pockets. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
And so, so it's hard to quantify, but it's really, it's kind of like the guy wanting to, saying, I'm not going to buy any more land unless it adjoins me, and so it just continues to grow. And, but you do have to have a core area that can produce good trophy bucks in order to get the people around you to buy into it.
Right. Yeah, I understand that for sure.
Now, Mike, kind of this type of program, this type of initiative, how widely popular is this in Georgia? Are there other co-ops that are focused on quality deer management that you're aware of that are taking the same approach y'all are?
I don't know. That's a great question. I've had people call me over the years wanting to do what we do. And I don't know. I would think that there are some other co-ops around the state or the Southeast. It's a patient. You have to be patient. Yeah. You have to buy in. You have to allow for some mistakes. And so the fewer hunters you have, the easier it is. I mean, if you group with 6 guys hunting 200 acres and they're paying their rent or lease, and every one of them wants to kill a buck or 2, and they all have a friend that they bring, man, that's tough. And so the fewer hunters, the easier it is to achieve.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, you said you've had people call you over the years about it. I think in the last paragraph of the article you wrote, and listen, this was a long time ago, it's about 15 years ago that this came out. You kind of offered people the opportunity. Hey, if you want to start a co-op, talk to us, want to hear from you. What was the response to that? Not just in the short term, but the long term. Like, how often or how many times have you heard from people over the years that want to do something like this? Because to me, this is what it's all about, kind of working together to make our experience better.
No, it absolutely is. And it just takes a dedicated, probably 2 or 3 landowners to sort of get together and come up with sort of a 3 to 5 year strategic plan and be willing to stick to it. Because the 3 goals, our goal is to manage the herd, meaning mainly take as many does as needed out. And we've had some drone studies and all to help us do that. But anyway, put meat in the freezer, manage the bucks so that there are trophy buck opportunities. And thirdly is just be friends with your neighbors. I mean, that's the byproduct of it all that's so great is that we had a get together our place 2 weekends ago, and there were 40 people there. And it's like everybody are friends. These are friends they wouldn't have had otherwise. And they just happen to be friends that hunt and are in the area. But that's why we kind of call it like a country club. I mean, there is no president. There is no enforcer. There's nobody's going to come to your, door to your head. But we know where every gunshot comes from. And once again, nobody's going to, if a kid shoots a deer that might not be up, that's great. We were all for, introducing what we do to the next generation. We encourage it. In fact, where we are at our farm, I've got 3 boys and they got kids, and everybody wants to bring friends from Atlanta. And every kid we ever bring down there, whether it's fishing, getting on a golf cart, looking for arrowheads, hunting, it's like, man, I want to do this again. Every kid, I mean, just think about if every kid in the city could go do that on a weekend 2 or 3 times a year.
That's right.
A lot of them say, not only that, I want to buy a farm. So,
Yeah.
you know, so that's what it's all about, is not only, you know, doing it, creating friends, helping the farmers out, keeping your freezer with, you know, plenty of meat, but passing it on to the next generation as well.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely sounds like you guys have taken that hunter versus hunter away, and realized that it's all hunters working together for the same goal, right? But then after reading your article, I realized it's not just hunters working together for quality deer management and growing mature bucks. You guys have like found a way to do business with each other and create connections and open it up outside of the woods and outside of the field, right? I think maybe like your last paragraph said you guys were building some different like professionanships, and you were able to help each other, service each other. Can you speak a little bit to that, about the community that's been built?
No, that's exactly right. I mean, it's a win. It's good for the hunters. It's good for the families. It's good for the farmers. You know, we as a group, we don't coordinate anything, but we generate a lot of commerce in Blakely and Damascus and Colquitt. And, you know, we try to stay as involved as we can. We've got, you know, after you've been there as long as we have, you know, we've got so many friends, local friends, whether it's, you know, being carpenters or whether, you know, in timber cutting. I mean, it's a community that all works together, and because everybody benefits. And but you're right. I mean, it really is a community effort. As much as we can do to help anybody else in the community, we want to, and we try to do that.
That's awesome.
One thing I'm curious about, and this is, I don't know, this is maybe of interest to nobody. How often do you hear from farmers that are kind of like, hey, you know, we need this, we need that, because there's no better way than to kind of support your local community than to support farmers in that type of way, especially down there in that area. You know, I'm from South Georgia too, and it's very agricultural. But how often do you guys hear from them, and do they reach out to kind of say, hey, we've got a need?
I mean, just because we're down there a lot, and, you know, we communicate with different farmers, and we tend to probably hear them the loudest when they have an issue with the deer wearing my peanuts out, or the deer doing this. Right. It's a little bit of a PR challenge to make sure that we're, you know, when we're involved, we're trying to do our part. And, you know, I guess every farmer everywhere has the same challenge when it comes to wildlife, you know, whether it's deer or pigs. But we invested in a boar buster trap, and we probably got 2 of them working. We've caught like 200 in the last 8 or 9 months. And so we try to make sure the farmers know that not only are we trying to manage the deer herd, but we're trying to hammer the pigs too, because, I mean, they are wearing everything out.
Right.
A lot of bacon.
Yeah. So, but
a lot of bacon.
A little bit of a PR goal that we try to have, to make sure that the whole farm community, everybody knows, because they can get a permit in August and come in and whack a bunch of deer. And in fact, they need to at times. And so, you know, we're all for that, as long as they, you know, don't have a renegade that's out there shooting bucks as well in August.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I'm not suggesting that's happening, but the permits that are out there, I mean, if we've got a property that needs it, you know, we'll allow the permit to go out there in August to thin the herd. So we definitely try to work hand in hand with the farmers.
Awesome. I only had one more question, but I do have a follow-up to that. You mentioned hog, you mentioned deer. I think even you mentioned fishing earlier. What do y'all do? Anything else out there? Any turkey, dove, quail? Do you use that core cluster of land to do any other types of hunting down there?
Yeah, all of the above.
So basically, you're telling me this is Valhalla. This is the finest place in the world.
It's 12 months out of the year, and it gets tough in July and August to find. I'm trying to think of whether it's bullfrog, gators. Of course, you have to have a permit,
Right?
But fishing. I mean, there's something year round that we tap all or check all those boxes. We got a great guy, a local guy that's got dogs, and we'll hire him to come put out birds when we got guests down on the quail hunt. We got dove. I mean, we've got 3 or 4 dove. Everybody's got a dove field. Turkey hunting. I mean, it's really year round.
And you guys are managing population for everything. You guys are managing habitat and population for everything.
Yes, the deer are probably the number one priority.
Right.
The turkeys, seems to have been down the last 3 or 4 years, but it seems to be a statewide or region-wide problem. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. It's certainly not because we overkill. The dove, if I had a request to make, it would be for the DNR, set a limit of 18 or 20, but let anybody bait. I mean, you got to bait to get dove in there, but then set a strict limit. And then because you try to plan, have a dove shoot with, your kids and grandkids or whatever. As you know, you can't plan a dove shoot 4 weeks in advance. Yeah, that's just a request I know a lot of people would have because I don't know. I've never been on a dove shoot where it hadn't been baited, but I'm sure I'm the exception, not the rule. But anyway, that would be a suggestion.
Gotcha. Well, one last question for you, Mr. Mike, and this is something we try to ask everybody who comes on the podcast. You're a Georgia guy. You live in Georgia. You guys run the co-op in Georgia and South Georgia, God's country, because I'm from South Georgia and I love it. What makes the state of Georgia what it is from an outdoors perspective? What makes it special for you? Because clearly you've got a lot of time, energy, and resources devoted to making sure you've got a place to hunt in this state. What makes it special?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm sure everybody in every state thinks that their place is pretty special, but one thing that I guess there's a couple things I would say about that. Number one is what I just mentioned. Literally, there is some hunting or fishing opportunity year round. Now, admittedly, in South Georgia, as you well know, you got to get used to blowing gnats in July and August. But
right.
But other than that, there's literally 12 months out of the year opportunity. And secondly, I watch these hunting shows just like you do. And I know Texas has got great deer hunting and turkey hunting. And I look at the landscape out there. I know they've got some piney woods, but most of it's out there in the sagebrush. And then I look at the piney woods of South Georgia, big pine trees, and just the landscape in general and the diversity. It is just unbelievable. The woods, and down our way, everything's flat, which some people like it, some people don't. But being able to, get in the woods, have that kind of view. I mean, I don't have to. If I never killed anything, it'd be fine. Just being able to ride through the woods like we do now. But I know every part of Georgia is a little bit different. But Southwest Georgia, to me is it's that environment, the woods, the whole deal is a pretty good investment. That if I had to sit on the porch the rest of my life and look at it, that'd be fine.
That's incredible. I love that answer. And I'll say this too. If you're wondering how your answer kind of compares to others, that whole idea, 12 months out of the year, all the different things that you can hunt, that you can fish in the state of Georgia, that's probably the number one answer, is that you can do a little bit of it all. and certainly what I love about it. And man, we really appreciate it. And I listen, I don't know, this won't help Spring Creek Co-op at all, but I want you to know that there's no bigger fan of what you guys are actually doing. Nobody pulling for you harder to keep it going and keep getting stronger than me, because this is exactly the way I think it should be. And I think a lot of people that read GON, listen to GON and follow us believe that too, that working together, working smart for the betterment of it all, that's what this is all about. And we appreciate you, buddy.
Well, look, I appreciate y'all having me on, and anybody anywhere ever wants to call and pick our brain, we're wide open. We're welcome to it.
All right, Mr. Mike, take care of yourself, bud.
All right, thanks. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Kimberly, I wanted to, obviously you weren't, it was just a one-on-one interview there with Jeffrey Harvey. So, I'll touch on that one real quick. Man, it's so cool to know that somebody holds such a high up position with a company that we are partnered with, and it means so much to us. It's really cool to know that there's a sportsman, that there's a guy that loves to hunt, that loves to fish, that his son has an advent calendar where he gets a new lure every day leading up to Christmas, that sort of thing. Like I love to know that kind of dude is right up there with our partner and my insurance company. That was really cool to me.
Yeah. My household are Farm Bureau customers as well. So it was cool to know that, we have the same kin, the same people.
Yeah. Well, I'm over here running my mouth about how much I love Farm Bureau and how long I've been a client of Farm Bureau, a member of Farm Bureau. I didn't even ask you. So that's pretty cool that you're there too. I don't even think we've talked about that yet.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. That's
the cars, awesome. The business, the boat, all of it.
That's great. That's tremendous. And that's what they're there for. And they do a tremendous job. I also know that every year I get a little pamphlet from them from being a member, and there's just discounts all over the place in that pamphlet, to from rental cars to kind of big box stuff. I mean, there's everything in there that you could possibly imagine to kind of save you a little bit of money here and there. They do such a tremendous job. And then obviously Mike Lowe, Spring Creek Co-op. Kimberly, to me, and I know it's too much. Like I know it's too much of an ask for this many people to get on the same page. But like my utopian dream for this whole state is for everybody to kind of have that mentality of let's all work together to make sure that, quail hunting, turkey hunting, fishing, deer hunting, dove hunting, all of those things can be maximized at all times. And, there's so much that you can do in this state, which is something that you got to love, right? Like we talked about that with Mike, and it's something that almost all of our guests point out, that you can do just about anything in this state. And there's, there's a coast, there's coastal plain region, there's Piedmont region, but I love that. I love his whole vision.
Yeah. It does feel like an impossible reach to ask the entire state to get on that same page, but I definitely think that we don't stop chasing it. Right. I think we continue to share the message that that's what we want, that we all have that, GON has that vision, but also keep sharing the message of folks like Mo. Who's Mo?
Mike Lowe together. Mike Lowe's name,
Lowe?
call him Mo.
Oh my gosh. Keep sharing the message that Mike and Spring Creek Co-op have been able to achieve, and that it is possible with, that select community. Let's spread it. Let's keep growing it. So it might be hard to achieve your utopia, but we can only achieve some of it if we try.
That's right. And this, listen, you're a coach, you coach softball, you do some private coaching on your own. How many times have you ever told your girls, like, you're never going to do it perfect. Like you're never going to be perfect all the time. But if you try, what you achieve will be great. It will be awesome. It will be the best you can possibly accomplish. And that's, to me, what it kind of goes back to is like, yeah, we're not going to get there. we're never going to get every single hunter and fisherman in this state on the same page as far as habitat management, as far as whether it's deer management, dove management, rabbit, doesn't matter. You're not going to get everybody on the same page. But if we keep trying, we keep pounding, not only can we get better, but we can get close enough that we make the most of what we've been entrusted to, which is a state that is from north, south, east, west borders. So much can be done. It's difficult. And we've had people point that out before too. Like, it's not easy to turkey. These Easterns are tough. This turkey hunting. I mean, every turkey hunter will tell you that Eastern is a challenging animal. All right. The deer hunting, it's not easy at all to kill 160, 170, 180 inch buck in Georgia, although people do it every year. It's not just like rolling off of a plane and going to a guide and making it happen.
Yeah.
But to me, Georgia is such a destination type hunting spot, especially if you're a well-rounded and diverse outdoorsman, because I mean, you can get after it in so many different ways. And when we're all on the same page and we're all trying to work together at the very least, because everybody's always going to have their disagreements. But when you're trying to, and you're reaching for that goal, I think it's just a rising tide that's just gonna make this place better and better. And I hope we can get to that point.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think people get involved in the outdoors, whether it's hunting or fishing, for so many different reasons. Like, we all have that origin story, right? Like, who was the first person that took us, or where did we see it and decide to try it? But what I would encourage people to do is move past your original reason why and dig deeper into how this benefits Georgia wildlife, how this benefits Georgia habitat, how should I approach this? Move past that initial, well, I went because Daddy took me. I mean, that's my story. But then start to understand, like, why it's important to manage the deer population, why we have the limits we have on fish, whether, size or bag limits. Move past that, and I think you'll find even more like of a heart to do it the right way, if that makes sense, and try to achieve things like what we're talking about.
Yeah. And, when I think about this state, and one of the reasons that I'm so stoked to be working with GON is I know that's the vision. And I know I want my kids and their kids' to enjoy, listen, this state's gotten better since I was a kid in some ways. I mean, I'm not saying every way. Urban sprawls kind of hurt some things, and there's just not a whole lot you can do about that. I'm not going to sit here and be the man yelling at the cloud to stop raining, because more people live here and people need places to live and all of that stuff. Like, I don't know. I tend to do a pretty good job as a human of only complaining about the things that I have a little bit of control over. I complain about them for a short time and then try to do something about it. But shoot, I remember growing up in the 90s and living in an area where there should be deer everywhere, and you'd go seasons without seeing really anything. And then now it's better than it was. And we want to keep making it that way at GON. We want to keep making it that way at the Field Notes podcast. And for this one, that's all we got. We'll get together and put together another good one for you. Take it easy.